I mean, that was far, far, far too dramatic for us. Henry, why am I not getting you on here? This is far too new for us. There we go.
Oh, hello.
There we go. I fixed it.
I'm yeah, your lips are out of sync. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We're giving people
technology.
We're giving
Hey?
people far too much like behind the scenes stuff. I have no idea. Is this even recording? Ah, well, we can only but hope. If not, I mean, Tom says he isn't here, so you're the only person that went yesterday that can help us, you know, give an idea of what actually happened.
It was a jolly time had by all, Alex.
Yeah, by some. I'm gonna see if I can try and get the goal saved and downloaded onto here, because I'm pretty sure I put it into a group somewhere.
You did.
I did. I was so helpful. But thank you to the person that, you know, got sort of sent it to us. Hang on,
this is so weird. I just went on Twitter and I've seen our live stream.
Do you know what? This is only a couple of quid more than YouTube, whatever it was.
Zoom.
Okay. Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was good. But first game back in what, 522 days, I think, if we want to be posh.
Yeah, I was trying to think because I didn't get to many just before COVID. So I think my last game was probably the Limerick game. Was it 0-0 or 1-0? I never actually went to a Holloway home game. I don't think.
Oh, I mean, you're not missing much. I went to that game when he shook all our hands, which was at Crawley, I think.
Oh yeah. My last game was the Colchester game just after the Bradford one. So it was a bit surreal to be back, really.
Was it as good as you'd hoped?
Yeah, it was weird to start, and then like after about 2 minutes, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I remember what happened here. So it was good. It was the whole experience. I don't know if it was just like the COVID bounce or whatever, or just having not done it in ages, but the whole experience just felt so much better than it was. I think, you know, you look at it, the grand picture of things, and, you know, yeah, we're in the conference, we're still at Blundell Park, but like just the little things. So I went to the ground earlier in the day to get a shirt, and like I would have bought it online, but with the new kit manufacturers, you know, I wanted to check what the sizes were like before I bought one.
I mean, according to our discussions, whenever we ask about the podcast, you've been toiling away in the fields like Boxer from Animal Farm for the last sort of 6 months. So I assume you've lost at least 7 stone.
I normally lose a few kilos during the summer. Yeah.
Everybody was wondering why we added fields of wheat to that video at the beginning. It was only...
Yeah, I managed to escape. I'd worked the morning, but I got to the ground about lunch, and you know, I think in previous years, after a kit launch, whatever, they'd always sell out of like a sort of most of the sizes that are quite popular.
Fat sizes.
And you know, and you'd go to them and you'd be like, oh, when's the when you next getting a delivery in? And they'd be like, October. But like I went to the ground this time, went in the shop, you know, they had all the sizes of everything still. You know, they had a good range. It's just little details like that make a big difference.
Yeah.
And then we went to the fan zone, and we got there probably about 12:30, I think. So it was moderately busy by the time we got there. And that was a really good experience, actually. Like they've done a really good job with it. It looks really smart. And we left there about 1:45, maybe near 2:00, because it was getting really busy.
Yeah.
And I think that just shows the demand there is for something like that, really, around the ground. Like people getting there a bit early, having a drink. You know, there was stuff for kids to do. You know, it was good beer, local beer. I think the only thing you'd say is probably they weren't expecting as many people, because the queue for a drink by about 2:00 was massive. But I think going forward, I think, you know, Jason Stockwood and Debbie were in there sort of about 1:30. I think they'll see that there is a massive demand for it, and hopefully, you know, we can get a bit more of that kind of thing going forward. So that was really good. And what else? And we had another pint near the Wheelhouse bar, and just, I don't know, the ground just looked amazing in the sun. The pitch looked really good with the sprinklers. The sprinklers misted the fan zone for a little bit.
I mean, on a day like yesterday, it might have been enjoyed. I assume in
yes, it was.
February it won't
Yeah,
be.
it was. I think the thing you'd say for the fan zone, maybe if it's like January or February, they might need a bit more sort of covered area.
Yeah.
I think maybe one thing to think about over winter, but I really enjoyed the experience. And then, the game itself, I think Weymouth were they were all right. They're a bottom half team in the conference, but they didn't like kick lumps out of us. You know, they tried to play their own game of football. And I think really the difference in the game was last 30 minutes they looked absolutely knackered. And, we looked a lot fitter than they were. And, we finally got the breakthrough. And it just shows what a proper preseason can actually do for a team.
Are they part time or anything, or are they?
I think they're full time. They're full time. They were limited. Like Akeem Rose up front on his own against like Pearson and Long King were. It was like they didn't create a lot. They had like 5 minutes in the second half where they had a half chance. Other than that, it was just a question really of where we're going to get a goal. And I think the difference really was in the last sort of 20 minutes. We were fitter than them. I think that showed that after we scored, they didn't really have anything in the tank to respond. They never once threatened the goal after that. And I think the number 9 shirt being vacant still is quite telling in terms of Hurst's plans for recruitment. But it was good that we got Ryan Taylor and Lenny for a half each.
What did Ryan Taylor look like? Because the 5 minutes I saw him, he was brilliant.
Yeah, he was. I thought he was a little bit in and out. I think obviously he needs his fitness, and I think he probably needs another proper striker playing up there with him. I think McAtee was excellent, but like for the goal, it was like a Disley-esque run from a bit deeper. I don't think he's an out-and-out striker as such. I think if you get him a bit deeper, being a bit more creative and running on forward from there, I think is where he's going to do really well for us. And I think Lenny coming on did make a big difference. I know I'm obviously biased or whatever, but like he just won so much. And you forget watching him in person, you forget just how strong he is, like ridiculously strong. He won so many sort of 50-50 balls, held it up really well, which led to the goal. But in general, I think from a team point of view, considering we only had 2 days on the training pitch before this game, I thought they did really well, and the work rate was there. It was a clear Hurst team with Hurst players. They worked the bollocks off for 90 minutes. They were really fit, and they didn't lump it. They played probably more a Hurst style of football that you would have seen at Shrewsbury, I'd say.
Can you imagine I didn't see any of Shrewsbury? What's that like?
Just not lumping it, basically.
Fine.
Yeah, I didn't feel like we lumped it. I felt like we got the ball down and played it. We were quite patient with it.
Well, do you want to see the goal? Do you want to see the goal?
If you've got it up, you might as well play it.
I have. Hang on. Give me 2 seconds.
Oh, look at this.
It's so bad. I mean,
it was a great finish from McAtee. Like we were sort of near the front of the youngs, and almost just looked like he just sort of passed it in. Like it was almost a surprise because we were right down by the pitch. So like you see the net bulge, it was like the keeper didn't even move. He just sort of rolled it in really smoothly. It was a really nice finish. I guess thinking back to when we were last in the league, and you look at the other teams, like obviously we do need a goal scoring striker. I think looking at that, gut instinct says that we're obviously a top half team. We'll probably be flirting around the playoffs, but I think to be a real contender, we probably need more goals in the side. I don't think we're going to concede that many in this division. The back four look pretty solid, really. Pearson won just absolutely everything at the back. He's not changed a bit. Absolutely loved the header. And the other three new signings at the back, I thought Crooks looked steady at left back. Atefe at right back got forward really well. And I think the thing you'd say, which is quite useful in the conference, is like it's a big back four. They're all quite tall. So we've got quite an aerial presence for set pieces. And the other thing, like Max Wright has grown like a foot since we last have been there in person. He looks like a foot taller than he was, so he's had a growth spurt. But yeah, overall, just a really positive experience, really. And you know, not to dwell on it too much, but after the summer we've had with, you know, the Euros and what happened after the Euros, and to be honest, I was going to it, and the players been taking a knee last season in an empty stadium. And part of me did wonder. I was a little bit worried what the reaction would be if they carried on this season.
Think of asking that.
And you know, I would say maybe 20 people booed. The rest of the ground applauded. It was really, really positive. And that was actually one of my favourite takeaways from the day, to be honest with you. I was genuinely a bit worried about it, but you know, the vast majority of people were really positive towards it. So that was really nice to see. I think just the whole experience from start to finish, it's one of those where, you know, you go to the ground in previous seasons, it's run down, there's nowhere to drink, you know, it's Foster's only. There's no like family entertainment or anything extra around the ground. You know, the club shop doesn't have the shirts in, it's not professional. You know, the choice of food, I didn't have a hot dog, but I've seen loads of photos, they all look really good. You know, and a season ago before COVID, you'd be a bit embarrassed to take someone who'd never been before, and they'd be like, why'd you go there? But like that experience that I had, it's probably one of those where it's like, you know, you'd be happy to show people or get them to the ground, which is pretty much exactly what the new ownership's after, really. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it was excellent. And, you know, I think ultimately winning 1-0 in the sunshine in August helps massively to brighten the mood, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, hang on. Oh, thanks, man. Because that freaked me out. I hear myself about 30 seconds later. Yeah, it must be really great, and I'm nothing but jealous and envious, and I feel far too negative because all I've been moaning about is the lack of coverage and having to get a dodgy message come through from someone to show me a copy of the goal, because that's the only thing I've actually seen. As an exile, I mean, you're an exile too, so I mean, you're not going to be at Blundell Park every week, and I'm lucky enough that there's going to be quite a few games around me, but it's still not going to fill that void. And I tell you, from going to having an opportunity to watch every game, like we've been able to do sort of live whenever we wanted to, we've been able to do that for a couple of years with the help of like VPNs and such, that the club's still getting money at least, but it's hard. You feel massively detached, and you kind of feel separate from what was what sounds like a really great day. And someone said this to me earlier, like, do you think Paul Hurst seems just generally more happy? I actually seen him crack a couple of smiles and, you know, have a couple of jokes. He seems quite cool and calm, don't you think? Or is that just from me?
So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get to every game like you, Alex. I've managed to wrangle the half day off work to go to this one. I've got a season ticket, but I'm not going to go every week. So yeah, I think it will be a bit weird going back to, especially in the conference where there is such a lack of coverage. It will be a bit weird, and it is quite difficult. I think two other points of like connection that you wouldn't have seen in previous years. You know, the new owner, the new CEO handing out 1,000 free scarves at the ground. It completely bypassed me, to be honest. I didn't realise I was going to get a free scarf, but I got a free scarf, so that was
you got
great.
one.
Yeah, I got one. Yeah. Just little things like that, you know. If there's, say, like a 10 or 11-year-old kid who's never been before, you know, there's a nice fan zone. It's full of people. It's a really friendly atmosphere. You go to the ground, the pitch is immaculate. You get a free scarf. There's a really good atmosphere. Like, the crowd was good. And then what was the other thing? Oh yeah, full time. You know, it's like Hurst was, you know, beaming as he went around the pitch. It was really nice to see. And what you wouldn't have seen in previous years, like all the players that were on the pitch gave the shirts away, which is just like a really nice little gesture that you see like Premier League players do or whatever. But I guess you won't have seen it for. I don't think I've ever seen that at Grimsby. All the players walked off without the shirts on, having given them all away.
Well, when
It
we
was-
were doing,
It was
when
cracking, really good.
when we did that Fans of the Future thing, and we asked the club for a rock bottom price for the shirts. It was 13 quid for a kid's shirt. So I can't imagine our esteemed owner from previous being happy to throw 13 times 11 into the crowd.
Yeah.
But it must be. I'd just try and imagine what Charlie would be like. He'd get a massive hot dog, and he'd be able to come away with a potentially a shirt and a free scarf. I mean, it's that sort of stuff that hooks you in, isn't it? And then you've got a customer for life. Like, you know, drug dealers don't give away their first hit for free not for a reason, do they?
What's an analogy? But you are right. I think pretty much everyone who went to the ground yesterday would have come away with a really positive experience. And even if we hadn't have won, I think most people would have gone away feeling quite positive about it all. And yeah, it's massive, especially after not being there for 18 months. Like, I don't think the new owners could have wished for a better start, really. I think it's such a great starting point to build from, whether that's more sort of fan zone type stuff, you know, because ultimately Jason Stockwood has written really well about, you know, a community based club and all that, but like previously you'd never consider getting to the ground for 12, or most people wouldn't, and then sticking around for an hour afterwards. So like sort of building towards that kind of community hub, I think is a great start, really. Off the pitch and on the pitch, we got a win and we look all right. So bonus.
I've really got to change this background image because all you can see is like a smiley face of a CCTV and a no smoking sign. But I'll find something else that's a little bit more salubrious. So some of the questions that came through were Josh wanted to know out there Josh, you're in Norway, aren't you? I don't want to get that wrong because it was the Norwegian gate that was on the pontoon a few years ago. He wanted to know, how were the Petit sausages? You said you didn't.
I didn't have one. No, I was on the beer. I forgot to eat, which is always dangerous for me.
Josh, I think it was Burkitt sausages, but if you want to be let into a secret, which it will obviously anger you, my old man was one of the Petit's master sausage makers. And so I have them on tap anytime I want, and he has the recipe locked up here. So you know, I'm 20 stone for a reason. But the food looked incredible. I don't know what the business operations are in it. But yeah, it seemed to be a really good idea, and it's certainly different from what they had before, isn't it? We loved our old Chesney. We missed the Chesney burger.
I have to say that the most telling sign of the whole thing was probably someone put it on Twitter. I can't remember who it was, but 2 images side by side of like before COVID and the new ownership. And there was like the half burger in the box without a bun, and then there was like this gourmet sort of food. And I saw another comment that was like, "I've never been so excited to have food at Blundell Park," which is very,
very what?
True. Sorry, I muted myself by accident.
No, it's all right. Hang on. So I've got it here. Here it is. This is too posh for us now. I don't know if did that work? Oh no, hang on.
Hasn't for me yet. Come on, Alex, you can do it.
I've broke it. It's the little laptop that could. It had to. When we did the I'm watching a wheel swirl around at the moment. There was a moment when when I did the Broadley game and I had to do that. I didn't know I was doing the music, and he went, "Oh yeah, do the music. That'd be amazing." So, well, I've got my laptop, I've got my phone, but it's an iPhone, and I've not got a lightning connector. And then I had to run around and get the club Wi-Fi. Oh man, this is not good. This I'm pedaling around furiously in the background because it's not working. Yeah, hang on, man. You might have to fill for a second because I think this is going to close. 2 seconds.
I'm just trying to think of. Hang on, are you leaving me? Okay, this is really weird, but I think overall on the pitch, I think we'll be in and around the playoffs, and it'll be a question of how many goals we're going to score. I think it'll be interesting to see us against one of the top sides like Wrexham or Notts County or even Stockport on Tuesday night. Whether they test our defence a bit more, or how creative we'll be. I think there might be a bit of a question mark in midfield in terms of creativity. Oh, he's back. Okay, that was really weird.
That was good, wasn't it? Yeah, that was smooth as. Look, I'm not going to do it, but I've got the picture. I was going to try and share my screen, and it went, no, don't do that.
I was just rambling about the fact of trying to figure out where this team might play. I think it'd be interesting on Tuesday night away at Stockport. I think that's a good early test. It'd be interesting to see if the defence holds up as solid, and also how creative we are. Because we had a lot of the ball on Saturday, but we didn't really have that many clear-cut chances. Whether that changes with the strikers getting more fit or a new striker coming in, I don't know. But I think lack of goals might be what limits us this season.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the problem, isn't it? I mean, McAtee looked all right by the looks of that one that he took the ball really well from out of his feet because it was a little bit behind him.
His overall work rate as well was excellent. I think he was man of the match. Like, he worked really hard. He won a lot. And when John Lewis came on and he perhaps dropped a bit deeper, he looked a real threat. And the goal was a sort of clear sort of example of that, really.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because Scunthorpe fans were bemoaning his lack of effort, but maybe it's just the manager that's around him that's the issue. He's one of these players that follows Hurst and really buys into what he does, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think I did see one comment from a Scunthorpe fan online that said that, work rate was never a question with him when Hurst was there. I think the players that do well under Hurst are just the hard-working types, really. And I think that was clear throughout the squad. They all worked really hard. I think Sousa on the wing, he worked really hard. He was really willing to get on the ball. It didn't quite break for him in terms of running, but I think when he got the ball sort of behind the fullback and was running at the box, he looked really dangerous. I think one of the things that you might worry about with him is that he's really one-footed. He played out on the left, but he's very right-footed. He was really reluctant to put it on his left foot and get to the byline. He always kept cutting in. And I think when Hurst substituted him, I think he maybe pointed that one out. But overall, it really is just a typical Hurst squad in terms of work rate and desire, and that really is all you can ask for, to be honest.
Yeah, he's Hurst definitely chooses character over ability, which is why, to a point, Scott Nielsen felt such a random pick for him, because he very much felt like a player in the other direction, all the talent, but potentially maybe not the ability that you wanted. I mean, strikers and how that is. Hurst said that he looked like he was a long way off. He was being really trying to be open and transparent. He said that he was quite a way off of being able to get somebody in. So, I mean, are you worried that if we're going into the season with just the strike force we've got, or do you think we've got enough?
I don't think we've got enough at the minute to challenge for, say, the top 3 spots. I think if we went into, say, January with what we've got in a minute, assuming Lenny and Ryan Taylor get fit and stay fit, then I think we've got enough to push the playoffs. Sort of around that sort of 7th spot. I think we'll definitely be top half. I think if we really, really want to properly challenge, then we're definitely going to need someone in. I think it's telling that there is a striker in the squad, technically, Ira Jackson Jr., but the 3 players that are left that he said are free to go. So Ira Jackson Jr., Moraes, and Danny Rose, although they're contracted, they didn't have a squad number. They weren't on the back of the program, which I thought was quite telling, especially when, in Ira Jackson's case, there's no one fully fit at his position, and he's still not even getting a sniff. So,
have we just got to? Do you think we've just got to
takeaway?
Do you think we've just got to sort of discount those guys now, move on from them, and such?
I think Hurst has. I think especially with Danny Rose and Moraes, who are sort of quite experienced players at this point, I think they'll just take the money and leave when the contract's up. Maybe train with the kids. I think Ira Jackson's an interesting one because he's still fairly young. He's quite hungry. He's stated that he wants to fight for his place in the team, but I would take that as, you're not on the match day program with a squad number when there's no other striker fit. At his age, he needs to be playing matches, and if I was in his position, he'd be looking whatever level to be leaving and going to a club where he might get a game, to be honest.
And given the clubs around here, he's got a couple of options that are available to him. I mean, Cleethorpes, Boston, Gainsborough. There's any number of clubs that are of a level that would pay him a living wage, I guess, if he wanted to do so. But obviously, he's got other business interests as well down south, hasn't he? He recently wrote a book, I believe, and he's got a fashion brand, so he's quite sort of business focused.
Yeah, I just think it's quite telling for those three players, like that they're don't even have a match day number. I mean, I know last season that didn't matter for Cisse when he came on the pitch for his one appearance, but I
not
think
wasting 13 quid.
Not wasting 13 quid, no. But yeah, it was overall perfect start, really, Alex. And Joss has put, will we have a goalkeeper on the bench with only 5 subs? And no, I don't think we will, to be honest.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously he's brought in the new goalkeeper whose name eludes me. And you've got Ollie Battersby, who's keen to sort of, get going. He's not a bad keeper from all reports. So, I mean, there's going to be an issue there. Hurst very rarely picked a goalkeeper on the bench when he was in the conference. And I noticed he was bemoaning it as well on his interview on yesterday. Sorry. So I guess he won't pick anybody on the bench that way. But
was he moaning that there's only 5 subs?
Yeah, he said there should be 7. And he said that the managers had sort of agreed it.
It was a bit of a throwback, actually, just seeing 5 subs listed. I'd forgotten about that, to be honest. But I don't think Hurst in the conference last time had a keeper on the bench very often, did he?
Not at all, no.
And I think Pearson's ended up in goal before. So I think for situations where the keeper gets injured or gets sent off, then it would just be an outfield player, and he'll just have to take that hit for that game. In terms of Ollie Battersby, I think it was mentioned a while ago that they're going to try and get him out on loan. I think that'd be quite important for him, really, especially if we are not putting a keeper on the bench, and even with trophy games and cup games, there's not that much rotation, especially if you've got 3 keepers and he's third in the pecking order. I think he really needs to go out on loan at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, right, what we'll do is I'll click this thing, which is called a sting, which apparently mixes it up in the middle. Then I'll show you the shirt that we got signed, and you can try and guess the names of who signed it.
This is all very fancy. Very fancy.
It changes a little bit different from that time we did it in our in our living room, and we didn't know we were just recording through the microphone mic on the laptop.
Well, this is a bit of a throwback, Alex, because it's a non-league game that we're talking about. It's just me and you. I felt like I'd have to go and get a train and wait half an hour in Guildford before we recorded this, just to keep it traditional.
I mean, and it's not gone unnoticed that the second we've dropped to non-league, that the posse that we had around us has entirely deserted us.
I got enough stick for being busy over summer, so it's time to throw some back.
Hang on, I'm going to click this then.
All I want to do is play football for Grimsby Town.
You can't legislate for that.
That's far too posh.
What is going on? Also, can't legislate for that is like the best bit of commentary on a Grimsby game ever. It's my favourite by a mile.
One of my favourites was Lee Ashcroft twisted and turned on the edge of the box. And he's like, "Oh, what's Ashcroft's doing here? He's totally mucked this up." And then belts it in from like 20 yards out. And really, he goes, "There's me almost criticising him." It's like, no, you were. Right. Okay. So this is the shirt that we got of the most reviled Grimsby Town player ever. So I thought I'd buy it and then I'd try my best to, take out that bad juju and, make it worthwhile again and hopefully worth more than 13 quid. So have you seen this? Did we put it in the WhatsApp group?
I've seen a photo of it, but I don't know who signed it.
I did a very mature thing. Mike is very right. We have blown the budget on graphics. It's my budget, Mike. We went to Cleethorpes on holiday. What do you expect? Right. So, firstly, Mr. Linwood's shirt.
A thing of disgusting beauty.
It is. Who's the one that signed it on the back?
Anyone watching this is just going to get a very close up of my forehead while I'd put my laptop close to my face so I can read it.
I'm trying to do the weatherman thing here.
Hang on, is that Paul Groves?
Yeah, Paul Groves, who left
It
very
says
quickly.
It says Groves underneath it.
I've not really worked this one out, have I? We can't probably do this as a game because that's the thing. I did all the mature thing, and I started to actually write the signatures on. So you've got. Who have we got on here? Let me have a look because I can't see it from there. We've got Gary Childs. Okay, pick out a player, and I'll tell you if it's here.
Jack Lester.
Oh, hang on, this is going to be terrible, isn't it? I've got to look. We need a jingle now.
Alex, have you not got the budget for another jingle?
I mean, you can do one. Jack Lester's on it. You got Jack Lester.
Hallelujah. Liam Hearn.
Yes, he's on it. I got him to do that one.
Disley.
Disley. Oh, was Dizzer on it? Yes, Disley's on it.
Yeah, bloody hell. Kevin Donovan.
Yes.
Livo.
Yes.
Poughton.
Yes.
Oh, but yeah, you got basically everyone, haven't you? Macca?
Yes. John
Either.
McDermott.
Either Macca.
Just John McDermott. I didn't see the other Macca there. And then
who else?
Who's your favourite player?
Kingsley Black.
Oh no, he wasn't on it. No, Danny Butterfield. I thought it was Danny Butterfield.
No, it wasn't Danny Butterfield. No.
But he's on it. Danny Butterfield's on it.
Yeah, very good. So what are we going to do with that shirt then?
I'm going to keep it now. No.
Is that Poughton's match day shirt hung next to it?
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's not a very professional looking room whenever I invite an envoy in from some embassy in the middle of nowhere. We've had some quite serious calls in my work over the last couple of weeks.
Hopefully not Kabul.
Yeah. Well, we've had some quite serious calls in the last couple of weeks. And all it's had is loads of town shirts up in the background going. And every question on whatever conference call that I have to do at home, it's like, who's that? What team is that? Is that Newcastle? Like, no. And then, there's a 20-minute conversation about how Grimsby Town are the greatest and that's the end of my TED talk sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, the Powell one was brilliant. He just took me aside and said, "Oh, look, it's been really nice. Like, you were all ribbing me, especially Hannah and Ian, who stood there going, go on, go talk to him. Go on. And I was like, oh, did you leave me alone? All right, go away. And I ended up having to, and they took no for an answer. So I had to, go over. He introduced me to his family, which was quite sweet. But we got to do the same for you for Kingsley Black. I didn't know Kingsley Black was.
When I was like 6, he was.
Okay.
Now it's Lenny. Well,
that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, you and Lloyd have got a fight over that one, I think.
Yeah, I think I've lost that already, to be fair.
That can't be true. Maybe Lloyd goes a bit too full on.
Yeah, maybe.
He was first there, but you might be his forever love.
So, Alex, let's spin this on the head a little bit. What are your expectations and hopes going forward after an opening day win?
It was what I kind of expected, if I'm being perfectly honest. That idea, from what I could hear anyway. So if I'm wrong, cut me off in the chats. Tell me I'm talking rubbish. But it felt very much like 11 men behind the ball, very organised, very disciplined, keep it really compact. And I would imagine they're probably shit hot at set pieces. I'd expect playoffs. Like, I think like the top 12 teams go. So I'd expect that. I wouldn't be displeased if we just finished top half, because I think it does take a lot of effort to get us from rock bottom of the Football League to being used to winning every week and making that the club's mentality.
Especially when only two go up. And like you say, it's a culture change. And also from a squad building perspective, there's not many players there from last season now already. And as Cod Almighty wrote really well the other day, there's still a rather large millstone around the club's transfer budget, effectively.
Well, yeah.
With the Gris money and the Pollock money and maybe the Dembele money. And, fans can ask, why can other teams in the league sign a striker for 250 grand or Ben Tozer or whatever, and we can't? Well, there's a pretty obvious reason why we can't at the minute, to be honest, isn't there?
And not to mention, these guys are putting in a lot of money. You can't believe, like, we've probably talked about it before, but we're quite privileged at the moment to have a lot of access. And they have to spend like 25, 30, 50 grand on gym equipment just because the stuff that they had was being rented, and the stuff that they had before that was sort of given to them by the college during COVID. And now COVID is kind of finished and school's back. They've gone, oh, can we have our exercise bikes and our gym equipment back? And then all of a sudden you come back going, shit, where's all our gym equipment gone?
And I know it's the old ownership cliche, and it's difficult because you don't want to keep dwelling on it. But
it's still there, isn't it?
The sports scientist thing, and when does 3 points ever get won by a sports scientist or whatever it was, whatever the quote was? I butchered it massively. But on Saturday, it was pretty obvious because the fitter team in the last 30 minutes, which was us, won that game comfortably. And it was purely because we were fitter than they were, in my opinion.
We had a really good, well-organised sort of pre-season. The players have come back quite early, and not to mention, like, Weymouth as well. They've had a game already. They've had another game to get match fit. We've had 10 days out of it where we haven't been able to train as a group and been able to be together. So that all stands in good stead. Stockport's going to be a really interesting challenge, but we talk about it. Would you really want to spend 200 grand on Ben Tozer? Because I wouldn't. I mean, he's got a throw, but that's it.
Probably not. I don't think there's that many players that are worth that kind of money to a club like us, to be honest. Do you want to be spending 250 grand in the conference on one player?
Who's quite
we didn't 5 years ago. I know football's moved on in 5 years, but we didn't 5 years ago. And I don't remember teams like Bristol Rovers doing that or anything like that. I know there have been money clubs, but it's not just money that gets you out of this division.
200 grand on a guy who's 31 years old. It doesn't make any business sense whatsoever. They must be just buying him for that set piece ability. And, stamping on Dembele's back like he did, or what it was. Oh, it was Edwards, wasn't it? Hey, do you want a live breaking story that even you don't know about Henry? Yeah, Gary Cohen has agreed to come on the podcast.
Oh, awesome.
The only memory I had of Gary Cohen at that Broadley game was him in a headlock by Mark Lever. As he's going, oh, it's like this then, is it?
Old school.
Which was quite funny. That was pretty good, actually, and it was quite interesting. We've got questions, and I haven't pulled them up yet. Sorry, guys. But it's an interesting one, isn't it? I don't know what to expect from Stockport, and there's so many clubs. I mean, maybe we've put far too much money into these graphics and this software and we should have spent it on a striker. I don't know. But
I think it's good. Just going to be really interesting tests, like we've already said. I think especially very early in the season in a new division. I think if we'd already been at this level for, say, the last 1 or 2 years, and you get an idea of what the teams are like and who's going to compete, and you have an idea of what the squads are like for everyone, then it'd be a bit less of an unknown. I think, having not watched the league closely, you'd expect Stockport to be near the top. So therefore, I think it'd be an interesting test. But to be honest, I don't know if they're like a 3-scoring team, if they're a set piece team, if they just lump it. So it's a bit of another step into the unknown. But it's the first away game since COVID. We've got 1,100 going. Hopefully that'll G the team up a bit. And to be honest with you, Alex, I'd take a point. Point away from home on a Tuesday night against a good side. I'd be quite happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Over 1,000 going as well, which is great considering it's a Tuesday night and a late change by Stockport. Do you think they did that just to try and deter fans from going from our end?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's happened. It's going to happen quite a lot this season, to be honest. You look at, there always has been sort of two sides to this division in terms of old league clubs and the sort of traditional non-league sides. In April, if we are near the top and we're playing Kings Lynn away, Southend went there for the first game of the season and it was apparently chaos. There's been arrests and all sorts. There was fights and all sorts. So I can't imagine Norfolk
That's when they found out.
Looking at that picture and being like, yeah, we're going to keep it at 3:00 on a Saturday. Things like that. I think it's going to bite us in the arse quite a few times in terms of away games this season. And also, I don't know how you feel about it, Alex. It's not too bad with the London games from where we are because, the public transport's relatively frequent and not too expensive to buy on the day. But, the London away games with COVID still and the isolation rules or whatever, how many more Bromley situations are we going to get is what worries me a little bit.
Quite a few, I'd imagine, and I don't think it's going to stop from there. Right. Questions. So Dave Holmes said about the things, there's not a question but an observation. The little things that I thought, and probably sort of echoing what you were saying that they thought about the free cigars. Apparently a cup of tea was 50p cheaper, and that was sort of legislated by the owners. There was multi-balls available rather than just one kid with a ball. The big things like fan zones and a palpable feeling for a new start. There's lots of little changes that are all for the better.
Yeah, it was definitely the little changes that made it a more positive experience. Even like the lower Finders toilets not being quite as grotty, and the pitch looking nice. It just little details just made the whole thing a lot better. And apparently I think that's what's been missing for a long time in terms of the match day experience, to be honest.
Apparently we've got another groundsman that's come in and just said, look, this equipment is 20, 30 years old. It's not going to cut mustard. And I remember I made a comment without even knowing it. It was like, bloody hell, the training pitch looks good. And that's just because I think they rented a couple of new lawn mowers or something like that. And it just changed. I mean, you'd probably know more about it than I would. But sort of, it's the same region. It's just smaller wheat, isn't it? And it made it look a lot better. And obviously there's other parts that have been added. Did we answer the things sort of like, because Mike McMahon asked sort of, what do we think about all the money from the transfers going to Fenty? Personally, it's a bit of a millstone, but I'd rather get that leech off our back as quick as possible rather than anything else.
When you look back to the negotiations at the start of this year, and Fenty's different to other previous owners in lower league clubs that all wrote their debt off. You look at Marcus Evans at Ipswich, look at the Chesterfield owner, the Port Vale owner, they all wrote off their loans. Fenty didn't want to write off his loans for whatever reason that's been listed in Cod Almighty, which is probably true.
The tax man?
Yeah, pretty much. And so if that's the price of getting rid of him, then fair enough. And if we have to pay him X amount of money, we might as well do it as quickly as possible so it doesn't drag into too many seasons down the road. So I'd almost rather just get it out of the way. And then even if it does hamper us a bit this season, it would hamper us less next season.
And this season seems to be a very special one for the National League. It seems to be an absolute shit show at the top. Clubs spending hand over fist. And there are going to be, just ones that, don't get there. There's going to be one of these clubs, a Wrexham, a Stockport, Chesterfield, who have spunked away so much cash, and one of them, at least out of those three, is not going up. Never mind the other ones that have been well organised. I think maybe we have to, be as it is. Just so Mike responded with that. I assume he's listed. So it's just I don't want that bloke anywhere near us, mate. That's my sort of response. I know he doesn't have shares, but I would rather have anything from him as far away from us as possible, really.
I just think that, we've got an agreement to pay him 500k or so a season for the next 3 years, unless we get transfer money, in which case it gets paid quicker. I just think that if you've got that amount of money to pay, if you can pay it off in 2 seasons instead of 3, then it just frees up a bit more money in the medium term. I don't know, short-term pain for longer-term gain, I guess. But either way, we've got to pay it. So in my mind, just pay it off as quick as we can.
Hang on, I just tried to put up. I've done that and it didn't work. I was trying to copy and paste them in from Twitter. I won't do that again because it just sent it to 3 different ones. Dave Holmes says, whatever happens on the pitch this year, be it automatic promotions, playoffs, mid-tables, whatever, there's definitely a change in the club. Fans are no longer the cash cow for an owner. We're all just one part of the club, which is sort of kind of echo that sentiment. Beanie Tony said, it was lovely seeing 3 sides of the ground full. Should the away fans be put in the corner and give the Osmond to Town fans as 76 Weymouth fans at the bottom of the Osmond behind the goal made the stand look so empty, which was the only downside for it. And that's do you mind me saying a little bit for a second? Because you know full well this is one of my things. I would love, given there's only going to be a handful of clubs that bring anything over sort of triple figures this season, let's be entirely honest, that I would love that corner cage to be filled in with seats, and that potentially given to the away fans at points, not with the cage. We'll be kind and take the cage out, but give us that opportunity to just make it a little bit more flexible. I would love that to be a singing area or an ultra area. Give it a cool name. Singing area is terrible, but you know what I mean. You would know that's where you go to make a racket, stand up, make a noise, so people that are around don't get sort of blocked. There was a couple of people making comments yesterday that the pontoon was stood up and they couldn't see because they wanted to sit and such. If we make that stuff easier, then potentially we've got an opportunity. There's 6,000 to 800 tickets for seats for home fans in the ground. It was great that there were so many there, but I worry how many of those are for people that aren't season ticket holders that don't know they need to get their tickets early for a good view. How many? I would say at least 1,000 of those tickets are a pretty shit view and a pretty poor experience for a newcomer to the ground. And if we were able to open the Osmond to home fans, it would just allow us a little more of a better opportunity to show off the ground and the club at the moment. I don't know what you think, Henry.
I don't think you necessarily have to put the contingent of away fans in the cage. I think you've got to also be mindful that
I would suggest removing the cage.
Yeah, but in that little corner.
Yeah.
I think you've also got to be mindful that the fan experience should be for home and away fans. So I wouldn't want to give them like the shittest view in the ground. I think it'd be fine if you just gave them what's currently there on the left and you opened up the bit behind the goal for Town fans. Because yesterday there were Town fans in the corner of the Osmond and the Weymouth fans were right behind the goal. I think you could just switch those two around and it'd be fine. I agree,
and it would help
the
fans.
The last time I remember that happening was probably the Eastleigh at home playoff game. I think the urgency to do it, I'm not sure. I don't know whether we're going to average 5,000 home fans a game, to be perfectly honest. Maybe we will. If we do, then that'd be great. I think it was open for a few people. I wouldn't have a problem with it being opened, but I don't think it's necessarily desperate. I don't know. See how it goes. I think the new ownership will be looking to increase attendances gradually. It's like what they said when we first interviewed them about the lack of need for a new stadium because we don't fill our current one. I think it'd be great to open it just purely because we have the demand for it because the home end's selling out. I think that's ultimately where we need to get to. Yeah, I think there were town fans in there yesterday. I don't know whether it was like a Young's deal or whatever, a Young's company thing. I'm not sure, but I don't have a problem with putting the away fans in the current corner and switching around what they did yesterday.
I think that's not a bad idea. Stephen, in terms of your question, because he's put it up saying if you buy a season ticket for the Osmond end, then you get promoted, lose your seat. I wouldn't necessarily suggest opening it up to season tickets, but now we've got a new fandangled season ticketing system. There should be an opportunity where you can potentially click a button to, go, right, I feel like I'm in the mood to go in the Osmond stand, so I'm going to go in the Osmond this week as a season ticket holder, and as such, my ticket is now available for general sale. Would be my overall thing on that, but that's getting into the nitty gritty of it.
That just reminds me on the experience yesterday. The new ticketing system was very good.
I know.
Very weird having a card scanned. It was very modern.
Well, on that, we'll wrap up that question where it said so. Matt in Woolwich said, "I wonder if the imminent legislation on safe standing might change the equation regarding sort of staying at BP. Not now; it's expensive to install, and we don't fill Blunder Park regularly enough. But it could help us see increasing the capacity to 10, 11,000. There's been an article in the BBC newspaper today, BBC News website, that said safe standing areas are looking at something that they're looking at bringing in and opening. So hopefully that might well go ahead. And I know the club explored it over the summer and what they could do, and whether there's even just a cheaper way of just ramming in a couple of guardrails along each row. Rather than filling in those ones you see advertised a lot with the sort of flat back opportunities, just giving them an opportunity in the pontoon to have something a bit safer than what they've originally got. I don't know what you think about that, Henry, but I would very much love to see, even if the fans have to help put some money towards it, if they could make the pontoon standing again, then I think that might sort out the atmosphere problem.
I also think that would then make a lot more sense to open the Osmond for home fans if you have one standing and one seated. I think generally standing does improve atmospheres. The atmosphere was good yesterday, to be fair. Safe standing's one of those red herrings that always pops up in the news as being talked about, and then nothing ever actually happens. So I'd see it when I believe it. It would be nice to have some standing back in the ground. I think most fans are in favour of that, really, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree, and that's all the questions we've got. I've got nothing else to really talk about. I don't know about you.
I think I've covered most of my points. I think the performance on the pitch was good. Worked really hard. Looked fit. I think the question marks are goal scoring and being creative at times, which is probably what we'd expect going in. I think off the pitch, it was night and day in terms of experience. Like, just all the little details and differences make a massive difference. And it was really, really enjoyable. Really good.
Absolutely. We've got one last reveal before anybody shuts off. So I've got a posh little video again. Here we go. Hang on. I think we could talk over it, but there you are. So this Friday, Jason, there you are. Jason and Andrew are coming on the show again, and they're going to want to have your questions. We're going to open it up at exactly the same way that we used to. We're going to use Slido for it, so you can put in your questions beforehand. Again, let's get rid of the anonymous stuff. Put your names to them so we can get them asked and answered. But Jason and Andrew will be here on Friday to ask your question, answer your questions, and to go through things. They've been quite active recently up until the lead to the season, but it's going to be good to have them on and to really just talk about, what's been going on really and how they've found it.
Yeah, be good.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
really sold that.
Hang on. During our traditional season ones, we normally do a score prediction for Tuesday night. I'm going 1-1.
I'll tell you something. We should have done something more than that. You didn't do a prediction, did you, for this season?
No, I didn't. Drop my prediction.
I'm going 0-0 for this Tuesday. Josh asked, should Hurst do changes for Tuesday? I assume there's going to be some forced ones. He was complaining about more injuries. I expect relatively similar to what we have now, but I would imagine Giles Coke comes in.
Yeah, I think that was the only piece that was really missing in midfield. I think you bring Giles Coke in if he's fit, and as strikers wise, it's just managing the minutes, really, isn't it? So
I was doing my best to get the Doncaster Rovers fans to drive Bogle over, and I was offering them sort of a fish and chip deal if anyone was kind enough to bring him. They were saying he's only on around £1.50 a week at the moment there, which I think would be a bloody bargain.
Well, yeah, compared to our last season's wages for a striker, then yeah, bloody bargain.
Save a grand on Matt Green and get Omar Bogle instead. Who would have thunk it? I think it's going to be a relatively dull affair. Stockport haven't really sort of set a light, and they've yet to get in. We've got really tough start actually. When you look at the fixtures, we've got quite
Wrexham aren't far around the corner.
Yeah, and Torquay as well.
Yeah.
So we've got quite a few teams that are going to cause us problems. So come the end of September, if we're sort of towards the mid-table, towards the playoffs, I'll be relatively happy, given that we haven't necessarily got the striker we want, and obviously who Hurst would like. But yeah, that's my prediction. 0-0. Man, how have you found the posh new way of doing it?
Fantasy. This is most surreal, Alex. We feel almost professional.
I look like a duck in the background here, trying to get all this stuff, sorted and clicking in all these little bits and bobs.
Oh, it's far too fancy for us, my friend.
Absolutely. Look, we'll try and come back and do these a little bit more regularly if we can just stream them. But this will be available to download as well. And all the while, feel free to get your questions in. We'll put up the little link around Jason and Andrew as well, so to get your questions in for both of them, and to see you at least on Friday. If not, we probably do something after Stockport as well. But we don't organise stuff very well. Thank you very much. See you later, mate.
Cheers. Bye.
Open wide for some